This principal thought he was finally rid of the troublemaker from the slums, but he just made the biggest mistake of his life. As he handed over the expulsion papers, he had no idea this boy was a hero. Little did he know, his own daughter wouldn't even be alive today without him. The expulsion papers were already signed when 17-year-old Malik Carter entered Principal Whitmore's office. They rested in the center of the polished walnut desk beneath the silver school seal, as if the decision had been made long before anyone asked what had happened. Malik stood in his navy Hawthorne Academy blazer, one sleeve carefully stitched where the fabric had torn during the fight. His close-cropped curls were still damp from the rain, and a fading bruise darkened the edge of his left cheekbone. Principal Nathaniel Whitmore did not offer him a chair. "Effective immediately," he said, sliding the papers forward, "you are no longer a student at Hawthorne Preparatory Academy." Malik looked at the signature, then at the two people standing behind the principal. Officer Grant Hale, the school resource officer, watched him with one hand near his belt. Board Chair Marlene Voss stood beside the window, wearing a cream-colored suit and the calm expression of someone attending a meeting she already controlled. Malik's aunt, Denise Carter, rose from the chair beside him. "You told us this was a disciplinary conference," she said. "You didn't tell us you had already expelled him." Whitmore folded his hands. "The evidence leaves no reasonable alternative." "What evidence?" Malik asked. Whitmore's eyes moved over Malik's repaired sleeve, inexpensive shoes, and tightly clenched hands. "The stolen chemistry examination was found in your locker. A faculty access drive was found in your backpack. You were captured in a restricted hallway, and when Chase Voss confronted you, you assaulted him badly enough to require medical treatment. He confronted me with his fist. Chase has no disciplinary history." "That doesn't mean he didn't hit me." Marlene Voss turned from the window. "My son needed 6 stitches. Malik touched the bruise on his face. He should have stopped after the first punch. Officer Hale shifted closer. Whitmore's expression hardened. "That attitude is exactly why you are here." Malik swallowed the anger rising in his throat. He knew what Whitmore meant by attitude. It was the same word teachers used when Malik asked why wealthy students received warnings for behavior that earned scholarship students detention. It was the word security guards used when he questioned why they searched his backpack twice in 1 month. It was a word that allowed powerful adults to call a black teenager dangerous without saying anything they might have to defend. Denise placed a hand on Malik's arm. "My nephew has maintained a 3.8 grade point average while working 20 hours a week," she said. "He tutors 9th graders. He volunteers at the Mercy Street Community Clinic. You're calling him a thief because somebody found something in his locker." "We are calling him responsible because the evidence points to him," Whitmore replied. "You never asked me why I was in that hallway," Malik said. "You were given an opportunity to explain." "No, you asked me to admit it." Whitmore leaned back. "Your place at Hawthorne was a privilege, Mr. Carter. Instead of appreciating that opportunity, you repeatedly challenged the people trying to help you." Malik stared at him. "No, sir," he said quietly. "I thought my place here was something I earned." The office became still. Whitmore's jaw tightened. "Officer Hale will escort you to your locker. You may collect your belongings under supervision. After that, you are forbidden from returning to school property." Denise reached for the papers, but Malik stopped her. "What happens to my college recommendation?" Whitmore showed no reaction. "The school cannot recommend a student expelled for theft and violence." Malik felt those words more deeply than the bruise on his face. The early admission deadline for North Valley University was 6 days away. His application for the emergency medicine scholarship required a recommendation from his principal. Without it, 4 years of work could disappear before he even reached graduation. Marlene Voss stepped toward the desk. "You should consider yourself fortunate," she said. "My family has decided not to pursue criminal charges for the assault." Officer Hale cleared his throat. "The school's report concerning the stolen exam is still being reviewed." Malik looked at Whitmore. "So I'm expelled, branded a thief, and maybe arrested, but you still won't ask why Chase was in the restricted hallway with me?" Whitmore's gaze flickered for the first time. "Chase was attempting to protect school property. That's what he told you. That is what the evidence supports." Malik glanced toward the framed photograph behind Whitmore's desk. It showed the principal smiling beside his 17-year-old daughter Claire at a school fundraiser. Claire wore a blue dress and a silver bracelet shaped like a crescent moon. For half a second, Malik heard a different sound, a girl choking on her own breath in a concrete parking garage, the frantic echo of shoes running away, and his own voice telling her not to close her eyes. He pushed the memory down. "You're making a mistake," Malik said. Whitmore slid the expulsion papers closer. "The mistake was believing you belonged here." Denise inhaled sharply. Malik's hands curled at his sides, but he did not give Whitmore the reaction he seemed to expect. He picked up the papers, folded them once, and placed them inside his backpack. Then he turned to Officer Hale. "I know the way to my locker." Students were changing classes when Malik was escorted through the main building. Conversations died as he passed. Several students lifted their phones. Someone whispered that he had stolen final exams. Someone else said Chase had caught him breaking into the principal's office. Malik kept his eyes forward. The halls of Hawthorne Preparatory were lined with college banners, championship photographs, and plaques naming the families who had financed each wing. Voss Science Center, Whitmore Performing Arts Hall, Ellison Athletic Pavilion. Malik had spent 4 years in the building, yet his name appeared nowhere except attendance records and honor roll lists most students ignored. At his locker, Officer Hale stood close enough to block the students gathering nearby. "Open it," Hale ordered. "The lock was removed yesterday." "Then open the door." Malik pulled the handle. His books had been shoved together carelessly. A yellow evidence sticker remained where administrators claimed they had found the stolen examination. His red emergency pouch was missing. Malik moved books aside and searched the bottom shelf. "What are you doing?" Hale asked. "There was a red medical pouch in here. Everything taken during the search was documented. It was my mother's. Maybe you took it home." "I didn't." Hale's face showed no interest. "Pack your things." Malik placed his books into a cardboard box. When he reached for a framed photograph of his mother, he noticed someone standing at the far end of the hall. Claire Whitmore. Her blonde hair was tied back and her face looked paler than it had in the photograph in her father's office. She stared at Malik's injured cheek, then at the uniformed officer beside him. For a moment, Malik thought she might speak. Instead, Chase Voss stepped beside her. Chase was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a blazer that had been replaced after the fight. A white bandage crossed his eyebrow. He leaned close to Claire and said something Malik could not hear. Claire's expression tightened. Chase smiled at Malik. It was not the triumphant grin of someone who had won a fight. It was the controlled satisfaction of someone who knew the rules would protect him. Malik picked up the box. As he passed Claire, her eyes dropped to his right wrist where an old burn scar curved beneath his shirt cuff. Her lips parted slightly. Then Chase touched her shoulder and she turned away. Outside, Denise loaded Malik's box into the back seat of her aging sedan. She did not speak until the school disappeared behind them. "You want to tell me what really happened?" Malik watched expensive homes pass outside the window. "I already told them." "You told them Chase punched you." "He did. You didn't tell them why." Malik said nothing. Denise's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "I have stood beside you since your mother died. I have answered calls from teachers, coaches, counselors, and one police officer who thought a black boy waiting outside his own job looked suspicious. I have believed you every time because you have always told me the truth. I'm telling the truth now. You're leaving something out." Malik looked down at his injured knuckles. Denise softened her voice. "Does this have something to do with Claire Whitmore?" His silence answered her. She pulled the car into an empty grocery store parking lot and turned off the engine. "What happened?" Malik stared at the expulsion papers in his lap. "I saw Chase grabbing her in the science hallway. She was trying to get away from him. He had her phone. Why? I don't know. You stepped in. I told him to let her go. He said it was none of my business. Then he started talking about my locker like he already knew they were going to search it." Denise turned toward him. "What exactly did he say?" "He said I should worry about what people were about to find instead of worrying about Claire. And then, I reached for her phone. He punched me. I hit him back. Did Claire see it? Yes. Then why didn't she tell her father?" Malik looked through the windshield. "She's afraid of something. Afraid of Chase? Maybe her father." Denise studied him. "And the red pouch?" Malik closed his eyes. His mother, Angela Carter, had been a paramedic before cancer weakened her body. She kept the pouch in her work bag for years. Inside were gloves, gauze, a CPR mask, an emergency blanket, and 2 doses of naloxone. After her death, Malik carried it because holding it made him feel prepared in a world that rarely gave warning before taking something away. He had used 1 dose 3 months earlier. "It was in my locker before the search," he said. "What was inside it?" 1 dose of Narcan was missing. Denise went still. "Missing because you used it," Malik nodded. "On who?" He looked at her. Denise's hand rose to her mouth. "Oh, Malik, she was dying. Claire, she wasn't breathing." Denise stared at him in disbelief. Malik told her about the January fundraiser at the Grand Avenue Conference Center. Hawthorne had rented the ballroom for its annual scholarship gala. Malik worked weekends in the building's kitchen, washing dishes and loading catering vans. After the event, he had taken a bag of trash to the lower parking garage when he heard someone coughing behind a row of vehicles. He found Claire lying beside a concrete pillar. Her blue dress was stained at the shoulder. Her silver crescent bracelet had broken. Her lips were turning gray. Chase had been kneeling beside her, panicked and useless. "What did she take?" Malik had demanded. I don't know, Chase said. What did she take? One pill. She said she was anxious. Call 911. Chase backed away. I can't be here. Malik grabbed his jacket. She could die. My mother will destroy me. Chase pulled free and ran. Malik had checked Claire's breathing, called emergency services, and administered naloxone. When she did not respond immediately, he began rescue breathing and chest compressions exactly as his mother had taught him. Stay with me, he kept saying. Listen to my voice. Count my breaths if you can hear me. Claire finally inhaled with a ragged, desperate sound. Before the ambulance arrived, she opened her eyes just long enough to grab Malik's wrist. Don't tell my father, she begged. Then she lost consciousness again. Malik stayed until paramedics took over. Security officers arrived before the police, and the catering manager found Malik away from his station. Malik refused to name the boy who had fled because he did not know what Claire had taken or whether Chase had given it to her. The manager threatened to fire him for abandoning work and blamed him for attracting police attention during a private school function. Malik left after giving the emergency dispatcher Claire's location and basic information. He assumed the police would obtain his name through the catering company. No one ever contacted him. Whitmore later announced that Claire had suffered a private medical emergency. The school asked students not to spread rumors. Malik saw her return 2 weeks later. She looked directly through him without recognition. You saved his daughter's life, Denise said, and today that man looked at you like you were trash. I didn't do it for him. Why didn't you tell anyone? Claire asked me not to. She was barely conscious. I still promised, and now they're using that same night against you. Malik looked at her sharply. Denise pointed toward his backpack. Your medical pouch disappears during a locker search, a pouch with a missing naloxone dose. What happens if they claim the medicine belonged to you? What happens if Chase says you gave Claire that pill? Malik felt cold despite the heat trapped inside the car. He wouldn't. Denise's face tightened. He planted a stolen exam in your locker. That evening, the first story appeared on a student gossip account. By midnight, it had reached hundreds of parents. Scholarship student expelled after exam theft and violent attack. The post included a photograph of Malik being escorted through the hallway. His face was turned toward Officer Hale, making it appear as if they were arguing. An anonymous source claimed administrators had uncovered possible drug-related items in Malik's locker. Malik read the post twice before putting his phone face down. His 10-year-old cousin Jamal sat across the kitchen table pretending to complete a math worksheet. Are you going to jail? Jamal asked. No, the kids online say you beat somebody up. Kids online say anything. Did you? Malik looked at him. I defended myself. Jamal nodded as if that settled the matter, but his pencil remained still. Denise entered wearing her hospital cafeteria uniform. She placed a business card on the table. Camille Price, she said, education rights attorney. A nurse at work said she helped her daughter when a charter school tried to suspend her for something she didn't do. We can't afford a lawyer. She works with the Community Justice Center. Malik pushed the card back. A lawyer won't change what Whitmore thinks. This is bigger than what he thinks. North Valley's deadline is Friday. Even if we win eventually, I lose the scholarship now. Denise sat beside him. Your mother worked double shifts so you could attend science camps. She filled out financial aid forms from a chemotherapy chair. Do you believe I'm going to let one principal erase that because fighting him is inconvenient? Malik lowered his eyes. Denise moved the card toward him again. You can be tired, she said. You can be angry, but you do not get to help them bury you. Camille Price met them the next morning in a cramped office above a neighborhood pharmacy. She was a black woman in her late 30s, with silver-framed glasses and the habit of reading every page twice before speaking. She examined the expulsion notice, disciplinary code, search report, and photographs of Malik's injuries. Who searched the locker? She asked. Officer Hale and Vice Principal Danner, Malik replied. Were you present? No. Did they contact your guardian first? No. Did anyone record the search? They said the hallway camera covered it. Camille turned a page. This report states the locker was opened at 8:12 a.m. The evidence photograph is timestamped 8:47. That is 35 minutes with no description of who handled the items. Denise leaned forward. Is that important? It means the chain of custody is sloppy. It does not automatically prove the evidence was planted. It was planted, Malik said. Camille studied him. Then we prove it. We do not just say it louder. She asked him to describe the fight, the hallway, Chase's words, Claire's behavior, and every student who might have seen them. Malik mentioned a sophomore named Leela Morno, who had been leaving the art studio when the confrontation began. Did she see the first punch? Camille asked. I think so. Have you contacted her? She blocked me last night. Camille wrote down the name, then she asked about the missing red pouch. Malik hesitated. Denise nodded for him to answer. When he finished explaining Claire's overdose, Camille removed her glasses. Does Principal Whitmore know you were there? No, does Claire? She heard my voice, I don't think she saw me. Was there an ambulance record? There should be. Did you call 911 from your phone, my prepaid work phone? I stopped using it when the screen broke. Do you still have it? Malik nodded. Camille leaned back. The fact that you saved Claire does not prove you did not steal the exam. We must keep those issues separate. I know. But it does explain why Chase may have reason to fear you. You are the only person who saw him leave her during an overdose. I never threatened to tell. He may not trust your silence. Denise crossed her arms. And Whitmore. He may know more about that night than Malik realizes, or he may know nothing and be making assumptions based on what Chase told him. Camille opened the school handbook. Hawthorne's policy allows an emergency appeal to the board. We will request reinstatement pending review, preservation of all camera footage, access logs, print records, and communications related to the search. Will they give us any of that? Malik asked. Not willingly. Camille looked directly at him. They are counting on you being ashamed, frightened, or too poor to challenge them. Our first job is to become more difficult to ignore. The board rejected the request for temporary reinstatement within 4 hours. The letter claimed Malik presented an ongoing safety concern. It also revealed that Hawthorne had forwarded the exam theft to the county prosecutor's juvenile division. The next afternoon, Officer Hale arrived at Denise's apartment with a city detective. Malik sat at the kitchen table while Detective Alina Ruiz placed a recorder between them. Camille participated by speakerphone. We are investigating unauthorized access to Hawthorne's secure academic network, Ruiz said. You are not under arrest. Then I'm not answering questions without my lawyer present, Malik replied. Your lawyer is present by telephone. My lawyer told me not to answer. Ruiz glanced at the speakerphone. Ms. Price, my client will provide his devices pursuant to a properly issued warrant, Camille said. He will not participate in an informal interrogation. Officer Hale looked around the small apartment. His eyes settled on Jamal's schoolbooks, the second-hand furniture, and the pile of medical bills clipped near the refrigerator. We're trying to give Malik an opportunity to explain, he said. That is what Principal Whitmore said after signing the expulsion papers, Denise replied. Ruiz opened a folder. We recovered a red emergency pouch from Malik's locker. It contained gloves, gauze, and an empty naloxone package. Malik's pulse quickened. Recovered? Denise asked. It wasn't included in the school's inventory. It was transferred separately, Hale said. To whom? Hale ignored the question. Ruiz continued. Chase Voss states that Malik approached him in January asking whether students at Hawthorne would pay for prescription medication. That's a lie, Malik said. Camille's voice sharpened through the speaker. Malik, do not answer. Ruiz watched him carefully. Chase also says Malik became violent when confronted about drug activity. He gave Claire. Malik stopped. The room went silent. Ruiz leaned forward. He gave Claire what? Camille interrupted. This interview is over. After the officers left, Malik kicked the leg of a kitchen chair hard enough to crack the wood. They're turning it around, he said. Denise shut the blinds. That was always the plan. If I tell them what happened, Claire gets dragged into it. Claire is already in it. She asked me to protect her. Denise stepped closer. You kept your promise when she was vulnerable. That was honorable. But protecting someone does not mean letting them watch you be destroyed. Malik looked away. His phone buzzed on the table. A message had arrived from an unknown number. I saw what happened in the science hallway. Don't contact Lila again. They're watching her. Malik showed Denise. A second message appeared. You didn't steal anything. He typed, who is this? The response came several minutes later. Someone who should have spoken sooner. Malik stared at the screen. Claire, he wrote. No reply came. At Hawthorne, Principal Whitmore sat alone in his office reading Camille Price's preservation demand. The request covered security footage, keycard records, disciplinary communications, printer logs, and every message containing Malik's name during the previous 6 months. Marlene Voss stood on the opposite side of his desk. You should deny the appeal without a hearing, she said. The handbook requires one. The handbook gives the board discretion when a student presents a safety threat. Whitmore removed his glasses. The Carter family has an attorney. A legal aid attorney who survives on settlements. Offer them something. What? Transfer assistance, a neutral transcript. Perhaps reimbursement for tuition expenses they never paid. Whitmore looked at her. In exchange for silence. In exchange for ending unnecessary damage to the school. Whitmore glanced at Claire's photograph. Marlene noticed. Your daughter's name cannot enter this, she said. Not after January. Malik began mentioning her during the police interview. Because he knows she is vulnerable. Or because Chase was involved. Marlene's expression cooled. Be careful, Nathaniel. Whitmore stood. Your son told police Malik was selling pills. Did he see that happen? He heard enough to understand what kind of boy Carter is. What kind is that? Marlene held his gaze. The kind who believes rules are oppression whenever they apply to him. Whitmore looked toward the window where students crossed the courtyard below. For years, he had told himself Hawthorne was a ladder. Students like Malik were allowed to climb because people like Marlene financed the rungs. But every scholarship student who complained about unequal treatment felt, to him, like a threat to the structure he had spent his career building. He remembered the hospital in January, Claire unconscious beneath white blankets, a physician explaining that someone had administered naloxone before paramedics arrived. Without that intervention, she likely would have suffered permanent brain damage or died. Whitmore had asked who saved her. No one knew. The emergency report described only an unidentified teenage male who left before police could speak with him. Whitmore had imagined a frightened party guest, a friend protecting his own reputation, someone from Claire's social circle. He had never imagined Malik Carter. Marlene placed both hands on the desk. If you allow this hearing to become a public spectacle, parents will ask why drugs were present at a school fundraiser. They will ask why your daughter was involved. They will ask whether you can protect students when you could not protect your own child. Whitmore's face tightened. You promised the board $20 million for the new medical sciences building. My family promised that gift to a stable institution. The warning was precise. Whitmore signed the notice scheduling Malik's appeal for the following Thursday, but he denied Camille access to Claire. Malik spent the next 3 days trying to rebuild the timeline. He returned to the conference center where the fundraiser had taken place. The catering manager refused to speak with him, but a former dishwasher remembered that Chase had entered the service stairwell shortly before Malik found Claire. At the community clinic, Malik requested a copy of his volunteer training record. It showed that he had completed opioid response certification 6 months before the overdose. Camille obtained his old work phone records. The phone had called emergency services at 10:43 p.m. on the night Claire was hospitalized. None of it proved Chase planted the exam. Eli Park, Malik's closest friend at Hawthorne, met him at a public library after school. Eli wore his robotics club jacket and kept looking over his shoulder. Whitmore told students not to discuss the investigation, Eli said. He can't stop you from talking outside school. He can remove me from the robotics competition. My recommendation comes from him too. Malik felt a flash of disappointment followed by guilt. Eli's future should not have to become collateral damage. You didn't have to come. Yes, I did. Eli opened his laptop. I work in the library during 6th period. The school printers keep job numbers. I can't access the document itself, but I saw the print queue the morning after the gala. What gala? The donor reception last Friday. The night before they searched your locker. Eli turned the screen. He had photographed a service notice posted by the technology office. The notice listed a failed print job from the principal's office at 6:42 p.m. A second attempt had succeeded 2 minutes later. The stolen exam was printed, Eli said. The file they found wasn't handwritten or copied. It came from an administrative printer. Could Whitmore have printed it? He was giving a speech in the auditorium. I checked the student live stream. Who had access to his office? Staff. Maybe board members. Temporary badges were issued to donors because they toured the new lab. Malik remembered Chase's blazer during the fight. A plastic badge had hung beneath the lapel, mostly hidden. Can you access the badge records? Eli shook his head. That would be hacking. Camille can request them. They'll delete them. They received a preservation letter. Eli gave him a look. You think that stops people? Malik thought about his locker being left open for 35 undocumented minutes. Send the picture to Camille. As they packed their things, Eli hesitated. Claire came to the library yesterday, he said. She asked how deleted files work. What kind of files? She wouldn't say. She wanted to know whether something erased from a phone could still be stored on a school tablet. Did you help her? I told her to stop using both devices until she talked to someone she trusted. Malik looked toward the library entrance. Did she say who deleted it? No, but Chase picked her up 10 minutes later. That night Malik texted the unknown number. Did Chase delete something from your phone? The reply arrived nearly an hour later. Stop asking questions. Malik typed, he is telling police I sold you the pill. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. I never said that. Your father believes him. No answer came. Malik sent one final message. I kept your secret because you asked me to. I won't let them use that secret to put me in jail. The next morning, Claire found Malik waiting across the street from Hawthorne. He stood near a bus stop, far enough from school property to avoid violating the trespass order. She crossed the road alone. You shouldn't be here, she said. Neither should that message you sent me. I didn't send anything. You're not good at lying. Claire glanced toward the school entrance. Chase checks my phone. Then why did you come? Her eyes returned to the burn scar on his wrist. Where did you get that? Malik followed her gaze. At work. In January, he did not answer. Claire's breathing changed. She stepped backward as if the distance between them had become dangerous. That night in the garage, she said, the person who found me kept saying something. Malik's throat tightened. Claire closed her eyes. Stay with me, count my breaths. Traffic moved between them and the school. You were there, she said. Yes, you gave me the naloxone. Yes, you kept me alive. I did what anyone should have done. Chase didn't. Malik waited. Claire wrapped her arms around herself. He told me he went for help. He ran. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. I didn't know it was you. You weren't supposed to remember. My father said the person who saved me disappeared because he was probably involved with the drugs. I disappeared because the ambulance had you. And because your school's catering manager threatened to fire me. Claire covered her mouth. Malik lowered his voice. Did Chase give you the pill? She looked toward the gates again. He said it was prescribed for anxiety. I had to speak at the fundraiser and I couldn't breathe. He told me half a tablet would calm me down. Did he know what was in it? I don't know. He says I sold it. I know. Then tell the police the truth. Claire's fear turned into anger. You think it's that simple? No, I think I'm about to lose school, college, and maybe my freedom because you're letting him lie. My father will blame me. He already blames me. You don't understand him. I understand exactly how he looked at me when he signed those papers. Claire wiped her face. The night before they searched your locker, I caught Chase in my father's office, she said. He had a flash drive connected to the computer. He said his mother asked him to collect donor documents. And you believed him? No, I started recording. Malik's heart beat faster. What did the recording show? Not much. I asked what he was doing. He grabbed my phone. Later, he said he deleted it. Eli thinks it may have synced to your tablet. I don't have the tablet anymore. Where is it? My father took it. Why? Because Chase told him I was unstable. Malik stepped closer. Did you see Chase plant the exam? No, but during our argument, he said you were going to learn what happens when people forget their place. That was not proof, but it was enough to reveal motive. You need to testify at the hearing, Malik said. Claire shook her head. My father will stop me. You are 17, not 7. You don't live in my house. And you don't live in mine. You don't have Jamal asking whether I'm going to jail. You don't have my aunt calling public schools that won't accept me mid-semester because Hawthorne labeled me violent. Claire flinched. Malik immediately regretted the sharpness in his voice, but he did not take the words back. I saved you because your life mattered, he said. Mine matters too. Claire looked at him for a long moment, then she removed the silver crescent bracelet from her wrist. One link had been repaired with a tiny piece of wire. I found this beside me at the hospital, she said. I thought it meant I had survived by luck. She closed her hand around it. I'll speak. Malik told Camille everything. Camille contacted Whitmore's attorney and requested a formal interview with Claire. The response arrived within an hour. Claire was unavailable due to ongoing medical treatment, and any attempt to contact her would be considered harassment. By evening, Claire's number had been disconnected. The next day, she was absent from school. Whitmore told faculty she had gone to stay with relatives while recovering from emotional stress. Malik returned home to find North Valley University's rejection email waiting. The school had received notice of his expulsion and suspended consideration of his scholarship application. The decision could be reviewed only if Hawthorne withdrew the disciplinary finding before the deadline. The deadline was now 48 hours away. Malik sat on the edge of his bed with his mother's photograph in his hands. She wore her paramedic uniform, one arm around 12-year-old Malik, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. His mother had believed emergencies revealed people. Some froze, some ran, some helped. Malik had always thought helping was the simplest choice. Now he wondered whether he had confused kindness with silence. Denise stood in the doorway. Camille called, she said. The school offered a settlement. What kind? They will change the expulsion to a voluntary withdrawal. They'll issue a neutral transcript and ask the prosecutor not to file charges. In exchange for what? You give up the appeal. We agree not to discuss the search, the drugs, Claire, or Chase. Malik laughed once without humor. They get everything. You avoid a criminal case. I also admit I don't deserve to go back. Denise sat beside him. This is your choice, not mine. What would you do? I would want to fight, but I'm not the one who may have to explain an arrest on every college application. Malik looked at the photograph. What would Mom do? Denise's eyes became wet. Your mother would ask whether you could live with the decision after the fear passed. Malik remembered Claire in the parking garage. Chase had run because he was afraid. Malik had stayed because someone had to. Tell Camille no deal. The retaliation came the following morning. Detective Ruiz arrested Malik at the community clinic on a juvenile charge of unauthorized computer access and possession of stolen academic materials. The prosecutor declined to charge him with drug distribution. but the school's report described the empty naloxone package as evidence of possible association with controlled substances. A television crew filmed him being placed in the back of a police car. The footage spread across local news sites before Denise reached the juvenile detention center. Hawthorne released a statement praising its swift and impartial response to threats against academic integrity. Marlene Voss appeared beside Principal Whitmore at a press conference and announced new security measures funded by the Voss Foundation. No one mentioned that her son had been involved in the fight. No one mentioned Claire. Malik spent 9 hours in a holding room before Camille obtained his release. He emerged after dark wearing the same clothes, his wrists marked by plastic restraints. Denise hugged him so tightly he could barely breathe. Camille waited beside them. "The hearing is still tomorrow," she said. "They arrested me the day before it on purpose," Malik replied. "Yes, do we have the access records? The school claims they were automatically overwritten." "They got the preservation notice." "I know, the printer logs unavailable due to a system update." Malik stared at her. "So they erased everything. Maybe, Claire is gone, Leela won't talk." "Eli has a picture of a service notice that proves somebody printed something, but not what." Camille did not soften the truth. "It is not enough." Malik looked toward Denise. "This is what they wanted." Camille stepped closer. "You refused the settlement because you believed the truth mattered. That belief does not become wrong because they punished you for it. It becomes expensive. Yes, it could cost my aunt her job if she keeps missing shifts. It could cost Jamal his apartment if we can't pay rent. It already cost me North Valley." Denise started to object, but Malik raised a hand. "I'm not quitting," he said. "I'm telling you what it costs." Camille nodded. "Then tomorrow we make them say the cost out loud." The Hawthorne board hearing was held in the school auditorium. Although disciplinary appeals were normally private, the Voss family had requested a public session to restore confidence in academic standards. Camille agreed because public scrutiny could also expose contradictions. Parents filled the seats, reporters lined the back wall, students watched through a live stream in their classrooms. Malik entered wearing his repaired blazer. Denise walked beside him. Camille carried 2 file boxes, although one contained mostly unanswered requests. At the front of the auditorium, 5 board members sat behind a long table. Marlene Voss occupied the center seat. Principal Whitmore sat beside the school's attorney. Chase sat in the first row with a small bandage still visible above his eyebrow. Claire's seat was empty. The hearing began with Officer Hale describing the locker search. He testified that the stolen examination and faculty access drive were found among Malik's belongings. Camille approached him. "Was Malik present when the locker was opened?" "No." "Was his guardian notified beforehand?" "No." "Was a recording made?" "The hallway camera recorded the general area." "Where is that recording?" "The system overrode it. After my office sent a written preservation demand." Hale looked toward the school's attorney. "I do not manage the camera system." "Who possessed Malik's backpack during the 35 minutes between the opening of the locker and the first evidence photograph?" "Administrators were present." "Which administrators?" "I don't recall." "Did you list them in your report?" "No." "Did you inventory the red emergency pouch?" "It was transferred separately." "To whom?" "Principal Whitmore." A murmur moved through the auditorium. Camille turned toward Whitmore. "Why?" Hale shifted in his chair. "He believed it may have related to a prior incident involving his family." Malik looked at the principal. Whitmore's face became rigid. Camille allowed the silence to settle. So before the police interviewed Malik, Principal Whitmore had already connected him to his daughter's medical emergency. "I can't speak to his conclusions." But he removed an item from the normal evidence inventory. "He asked to examine it, and you allowed him?" Hale glanced toward Marlene Voss. "Yes." Camille returned to her table. Chase testified next. He described discovering Malik in the restricted science corridor and confronting him about suspicious behavior. He claimed Malik became aggressive without provocation. Camille asked why Chase had been in a restricted corridor. "My mother asked me to help with the donor event." "Did that include access to Principal Whitmore's office?" "No." "Were you issued a temporary badge?" "I don't remember." "You remember being punched, but not whether you were given electronic access to the school." "I was helping in several places." "Did you give Claire Whitmore a pill at the January scholarship gala?" The school's attorney stood. "This hearing concerns academic theft. It concerns the credibility and motive of the witness whose accusation triggered the locker search." Marlene Voss leaned toward her microphone. "I will not allow unproven allegations about minors." Camille looked directly at her. "Mrs. Voss, your son accused my client of selling drugs during a police investigation. You cannot use his allegation and then prevent us from examining it." The board conferred quietly. Whitmore avoided looking at Malik. The question was allowed. Chase's controlled expression slipped. No, he said. You were not with Claire in the parking garage. No. You did not leave when she stopped breathing? I wasn't there. Malik felt anger heat his face. Camille placed a phone record on the display screen. At 10:39 p.m., 4 minutes before Malik called emergency services, your phone connected to the conference center's underground network. Chase stared at the document. That doesn't mean I was with her. No, it means your statement that you were not there is false. I could have been upstairs. The underground network does not reach the ballroom. Chase looked toward his mother. Marlene's lips pressed together. Camille continued. Did you tell Claire that Malik supplied the pill? No. Did you tell Principal Whitmore? I said I had heard rumors. From whom? I don't remember. Convenient. The school's attorney objected. Camille withdrew the word but not the implication. Chase stepped down visibly shaken, yet the school still possessed the strongest physical evidence. The flash drive had been found in Malik's backpack. The examination had been found in his locker. No witness had seen anyone plant them. Then Leila Morneau entered the auditorium. She walked slowly down the aisle with her mother beside her. Malik turned toward Camille, who looked equally surprised. Leila took the witness chair and folded her hands to stop them from trembling. I saw the fight, she said. Marlene leaned forward. This witness was not disclosed. Camille stood. She contacted my office 15 minutes ago. Leila looked toward Chase. He hit Malik first, she said. Chase shook his head. Leila continued. Claire was trying to get her phone back. Chase grabbed her arm. Malik told him to let go. Chase punched him. Why didn't you report this? A board member asked. Vice Principal Danner interviewed me. I told her. The auditorium stirred. What did she say? Camille asked. She said I needed to think carefully because I'm a financial aid student. She said people who involve themselves in serious disciplinary matters sometimes lose opportunities. Vice Principal Danner, seated behind the school attorney, turned pale. Leila removed her phone from her pocket. I took a picture before the fight because Claire looked scared. I deleted it after the vice principal talked to me. My mother recovered it from our family backup. The photograph appeared on the auditorium screen. Claire stood near the science hallway door, reaching toward Chase. Malik was several feet away, approaching them. A temporary access badge hung from Chase's blazer. Reflected in the glass trophy case behind him was the open door of Malik's locker. The timestamp was 22 minutes before the official search supposedly began. Camille enlarged the reflection. A figure stood beside the locker. The image was blurred, but the cream-colored sleeve and gold watch were unmistakable. Marlene Voss looked down at her own cream suit and gold watch. The room erupted. Marlene struck the table with her palm. This is absurd. I walked through that hallway during the reception. That proves nothing. It proves Malik's locker was open before the authorized search, Camille said. The school's attorney requested a recess. Marlene refused. Continue, she said, though her voice had changed. Camille called Principal Whitmore. He approached the witness chair like a man walking toward a sentence. She handed him the red emergency pouch. Do you recognize this? Yes. Why did you remove it from the evidence process? Inside was an empty naloxone package. My daughter received naloxone during a medical emergency in January. You believed Malik may have administered it. I believed he may have been connected to the incident. Connected as the person who harmed her, Whitmore hesitated. That possibility was presented to me. By whom? His eyes moved toward Chase. Mr. Voss suggested Malik had access to prescription medication. Did you ask Malik? No. Did you ask your daughter? She was emotionally fragile. Did you tell the board your personal suspicion before recommending expulsion? No. So the official who decided Malik was guilty was privately investigating him for an unrelated event involving his own child. Whitmore's composure cracked. I was protecting my daughter. By assuming the black scholarship student with a medical pouch must have supplied the drugs, the words landed heavily. Whitmore looked at Malik for the first time. I did not make my decision based on race. You described him as someone who did not belong at Hawthorne. I said he failed to appreciate his opportunity. You told him his place was a privilege. Whitmore's silence answered. Camille opened another file. Principal Whitmore, do you remember the physician telling you your daughter would have died without early naloxone and rescue breathing? Yes. Did you attempt to identify the person who saved her? Yes. Did you obtain the emergency dispatch recording? No, we did. Camille turned toward the board. Malik has given permission for this recording to be played. The auditorium speakers crackled. A dispatcher's voice filled the room. Emergency services, what is your location? Then Malik's younger voice answered, breathless but controlled. Lower garage, Grand Avenue Conference Center. I have a girl, maybe 17. She's not breathing normally. Possible opioid overdose. Do you have naloxone? Yes, I'm giving it now. There was movement, fabric tearing, and Malik counting seconds. The dispatcher instructed him to begin rescue breathing. I know how, Malik said. My mother was a paramedic. A choking sound came through the recording, then Malik's voice closer to Claire. Stay with me, listen to me, count my breaths if you can hear me. Principal Whitmore covered his mouth. The recording continued until ambulance sirens entered the garage. A weak female voice could be heard. Don't tell my father, Malik answered, just keep breathing. Camille stopped the audio, no one in the auditorium moved. Whitmore looked toward the empty seat reserved for Claire. Malik watched the realization move across his face. The boy he had called dangerous had knelt on concrete and breathed life into his daughter. The student he had treated as a threat had protected Claire's secret even while that silence made him easier to accuse. Whitmore's voice broke. It was you? Malik did not answer immediately. Then he said, yes, why didn't you tell me? You never asked me what happened, you asked me what I had done. Whitmore lowered his head. Marlene Voss reached for her microphone. This is emotional, but it does not answer the academic theft. A voice came from the rear of the auditorium. Yes, it does. Claire stood beside the doors. She looked exhausted but steady. Camille's assistant was beside her, along with a woman who identified herself as Claire's maternal aunt. Whitmore rose. Claire, you sent me away because you thought silence would protect me, she said. I sent you somewhere safe. You sent me somewhere I couldn't speak. She walked down the aisle and took the witness chair. Marlene protested that Claire was medically vulnerable. Claire turned toward her. Your son used that excuse to lie for 3 months. You don't get to use it now. She described the January overdose, the pill Chase gave her, and the moment she woke in the hospital with no memory of Malik's face. She explained that Chase warned her no one would believe she had taken only one pill. He said people would assume she had a drug problem and her father's career would collapse. Then she described finding Chase in Whitmore's office before the locker search. I started recording because I had learned what happened when I trusted him, she said. He grabbed my phone and deleted the video. Was it recovered? Camille asked. Claire placed her school tablet on the table. My phone automatically synced voice files to this tablet. My father took it from me, but he didn't erase the backup. My aunt retrieved it from his house this morning. Whitmore closed his eyes. The recovered recording began with Claire's voice. Why are you in my father's office? Chase answered, my mother needed something. You copied the chemistry exam. Put the phone down. You're the reason they're auditing the test results, aren't you? There was a struggle. Then Claire said, why did you open Malik's locker? Chase's voice became low. Because people believe what makes sense to them. What does that mean? It means nobody is going to think the scholarship kid with an attitude is innocent. And if you tell your father, I'll tell him where you got the pill. You gave it to me. Prove it. The file ended with a sharp impact. Several parents stood in outrage. Chase tried to leave, but Detective Ruiz stepped into the aisle. She had been observing the hearing from the rear. Sit down, she said. Marlene turned toward the school attorney. Stop this. He quietly gathered his papers. Camille faced Principal Whitmore. Did you hear this recording before today? No. Did Claire attempt to tell you Chase was involved? Whitmore's eyes filled with shame. She said he had threatened her. I believe she was confused. Why? Because Marlene said Claire was shifting blame. Because Chase's family had supported the school for years, because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Losing the board, losing funding, losing control of the story. Camille glanced toward Malik, and Malik, Whitmore struggled to answer. He was already angry with the school. He questioned procedures. He challenged teachers, so it was easier to believe he was dangerous. Whitmore nodded once. Yes, Malik expected satisfaction. Instead, he felt tired. Whitmore turned toward him. I failed you. Malik held his gaze. You did more than fail me. The principal's face tightened. You used every rule you had to make your fear look official, Malik continued. You let them search my things without me. You took my mother's medical pouch and treated it like proof I hurt someone. You called the police. You let news cameras film me in handcuffs. You knew one accusation from this school could follow me for the rest of my life. Whitmore's voice dropped. I know. No, you're beginning to know. The board suspended the hearing while Detective Ruiz secured Claire's tablet, Leela's photograph, the red emergency pouch, and the original search reports. This time she treated Malik as a witness. Within 2 days, investigators recovered access data from Hawthorne's off-site security contractor. The records had not been overwritten, despite the school's claim. A temporary badge assigned to Marlene Voss had entered Whitmore's office and the locker corridor. Camera footage from a donor's vehicle showed Marlene giving the badge to Chase before the reception. Vice Principal Danner admitted that Marlene had pressured her to delay the evidence photographs and discourage Leela from speaking. In return, the Voss Foundation had promised to finance a new administrative position for Danner. Chase eventually confessed that he had been distributing stolen examinations to a group of students whose parents contributed heavily to Hawthorne. When an internal audit revealed unusual similarities in test answers, He copied the chemistry file onto a faculty drive and placed it in Malik's backpack. He chose Malik because Malik had complained publicly about students receiving grades they had not earned. Marlene had opened the locker. She insisted she believed she was protecting her son from a false accusation. The recovered messages between them told a different story. "Make them look at Carter first," she had written. "They already expect trouble from him." The juvenile prosecutor dismissed all charges against Malik and opened cases against Chase for evidence tampering, unauthorized computer access, drug distribution, and filing a false report. Because Chase was 18, the charges were filed in adult court. Marlene resigned from the school board before the remaining members could remove her. The Voss Foundation withdrew its promised donation, but several families demanded an independent financial audit. Investigators later found that the foundation had used gifts to influence admissions, grading appeals, and disciplinary decisions for years. Vice Principal Danner was terminated. Officer Hale was suspended by the police department for mishandling evidence and allowing Whitmore to remove the red pouch from the documented search. Whitmore was placed on administrative leave. 3 days after the hearing, he came to Denise's apartment. Malik opened the door but did not invite him inside. Whitmore wore no suit jacket and carried the red emergency pouch in both hands. "The police released this," he said. Malik took it. "The zipper had been repaired." "I did that," Whitmore said. "It was damaged during the search." Malik examined the familiar stitching. "You thought this proved I was a drug dealer." "I did. My mother carried it for 12 years. I know that now." Whitmore looked past Malik toward the modest apartment. "I cannot undo what I did. No. I submitted a corrected report to North Valley. I explained that the evidence was planted and that you were wrongfully expelled. The scholarship deadline passed. I contacted the admissions director personally." Malik's expression hardened. "You think a phone call fixes it?" "No, I think it is one obligation among many." Denise appeared behind Malik but remained silent. Whitmore took a folded letter from his pocket. "I have resigned." Malik did not reach for the letter. "The board offered to let me return after the investigation," Whitmore continued. "I declined. I cannot lead a school whose rules I use selectively." "Why are you telling me?" "Because I spent years believing good intentions excused unequal outcomes. I told myself Hawthorne gave students like you opportunities. I never asked why you had to be grateful for treatment other students considered normal." Malik's grip tightened around the pouch. Whitmore's voice became unsteady. "You saved Claire when my fear and pride would have allowed her to die. Then you protected her when speaking might have protected you. I should have spoken sooner, perhaps, but the responsibility was not yours alone." Malik studied him. "Claire needs you to listen to her," he said. "Not manage her, not protect your job through her. Listen." Whitmore nodded. "I am trying. That doesn't mean she forgives you." "I know." Malik handed the resignation letter back without opening it. "I don't need proof that you lost your position." Whitmore accepted the paper. "What do you need?" Malik thought of Leela being threatened, Eli fearing for his recommendation, and scholarship students learning that every opportunity could be withdrawn the moment they became inconvenient. "I need Hawthorne to stop calling discrimination a misunderstanding after it gets exposed." Whitmore looked at him. "The independent review begins Monday," he said. "I have agreed to testify. Tell them everything." "I will." Whitmore turned to leave, then stopped. "Malik, there is something I have wanted to say since the hearing. You're going to thank me for saving Claire." "Yes." "I didn't save her so you would owe me." "I understand." "No," Malik said. "You need to understand this part. What happened in that garage doesn't make me innocent. I was innocent before you knew I saved your daughter." Whitmore stood silently on the landing. Then he nodded. "You are right." North Valley reopened Malik's application, but the scholarship committee required a new interview. Malik entered the video call expecting questions about the arrest. Instead, the chair asked why he wanted to study emergency medicine. Malik looked at his mother's red pouch on the desk. "Because emergencies strip away the stories people tell about each other," he said. "You see who needs help, what resources are missing, and whether the system reaches them in time. I want to work in communities where people are treated like problems until the moment they become patients." 2 weeks later, North Valley offered him the scholarship. He did not celebrate immediately. He read the email 3 times, then walked into the kitchen and handed the phone to Denise. She screamed loudly enough for Jamal to run from his room. For the first time since the expulsion, Malik allowed himself to believe his future had not disappeared. Hawthorne reinstated him before graduation. The board removed the theft and violence findings from his record, reimbursed Denise for legal and transportation expenses, and adopted new rules requiring guardians to be notified before non-emergency searches. Locker searches had to be recorded, Evidence had to be documented by two independent adults, and disciplinary decisions involving board members, children required outside review. Students on financial aid gained the right to an independent advocate during disciplinary interviews. The reforms did not make the school fair overnight. Some parents still complained that Malik had damaged Hawthorne's reputation by refusing a private settlement. Anonymous messages accused him of exploiting Claire's overdose. A few students avoided him in the hallway, uncertain whether to see him as a hero or a threat. Malik disliked both labels. Claire returned to school part-time. Her friendship with Malik developed slowly, shaped by gratitude, guilt, and the uncomfortable truth that he had paid for her silence. One afternoon, she found him in the science lab studying for his final exams. "My father started counseling," she said. Malik kept writing. "Good. He testified against Marlene. He should have." Claire sat across from him. "I signed a statement before the hearing." Malik stopped. "What statement?" "My father's lawyer wrote that I had seen you acting suspiciously near his office. I signed it while I was staying with my aunt. Then I called Camille and told her it was false." Malik leaned back. "Why are you telling me now?" "Because everyone thinks I became brave the moment I recognized you. I didn't. I almost helped them finish what they started." Malik felt the old anger return, but beneath it was something sadder. "You were afraid. That doesn't erase it." "No." Claire looked down at the repaired crescent bracelet. "I'm sorry." Malik considered the apology. "I believe you." "Do you forgive me?" "Not yet." Claire nodded, accepting the answer. "That's fair." She stood to leave. "Claire," she turned, "you told the truth when it mattered most." Her eyes filled. "So did Layla," Malik added. "So did Eli. You don't have to make yourself the center of what happened." A faint smile touched her face. "You really don't make forgiveness easy." "I don't think it's supposed to be easy." At graduation, Malik crossed the stage without applause from everyone. He did not need it. Denise stood in the second row beside Jamal, crying before his name was even announced. Ms. Brooks clapped over her head. Eli shouted loudly enough to earn a warning from a teacher. Leela smiled from the student section. Claire applauded quietly beside her aunt. Whitmore did not attend the ceremony. He had sent Malik a letter, but Malik had not opened it yet. Some words deserved time before they were allowed back into his life. After receiving his diploma, Malik walked past the office where his expulsion papers had been signed. The walnut desk was still there, but the silver nameplate had been removed. On the wall outside, workers were installing a new display describing the Student Emergency Response Program Hawthorne would introduce the following year. Every student would receive CPR and overdose response training. Naloxone would be stored beside each automated defibrillator. The board had asked to name the program after Malik. He refused. He wanted the training to become normal, not a monument to one dramatic night. During the summer, Malik volunteered to teach the first group of students. Claire attended the session along with Layla, Eli, and several freshmen who knew the story only through rumors. Malik placed the red emergency pouch on the table. "This belonged to my mother," he told them. "She used to say panic gets louder when nobody knows what to do. Training gives you something useful to hear instead." He demonstrated how to check breathing, call emergency services, administer naloxone, and begin rescue breaths. When Claire practiced on the mannequin, her hands shook. Malik knelt beside her. "You're rushing," he said. "I know. Slow down." She looked at him, remembering a concrete garage and a voice she had not been able to identify. Malik counted with her until her breathing steadied. By autumn, he was preparing to leave for North Valley. The night before his departure, he finally opened Whitmore's letter. The former principal did not ask for forgiveness. He described the first time he had watched security search Malik's backpack and said nothing. He described hearing teachers call Malik confrontational when wealthy students were praised for confidence. He admitted that his prejudice had rarely felt like hatred. It had felt like caution, procedure, tradition, reputation, and protecting the school. That, he wrote, was why it had been so easy to defend. Malik folded the letter and placed it inside the red pouch. He did not keep it because Whitmore deserved absolution. He kept it because truth was most useful when it named the ordinary disguises injustice wore. The next morning, Denise drove him to the bus station. Jamal carried the red pouch as if it contained something priceless. Before boarding, Malik took it from him and fastened it to his backpack. "You still carry that everywhere?" Denise asked. "Most places. Your mother would be proud." Malik looked at the city waking beyond the station windows. "I hope so." Denise hugged him. "She would also tell you not to miss your bus while trying to have an emotional moment." Malik laughed, the sound surprising him. As he stepped toward the gate, a young girl near the ticket counter dropped her suitcase and began crying because she had lost sight of her mother. Malik stopped, crouched to her level, and calmly asked her name. Denise watched him help the girl until an anxious woman hurried through the crowd and gathered her into her arms. The bus driver called for final boarding. Malik climbed aboard and found a seat beside the window. The red pouch rested against his chest, carrying his mother's training, Whitmore's confession, and the memory of a promise he had once misunderstood. He had spent months being told his future depended on whether powerful people considered him worthy of belonging. He knew better now. Belonging was not a favor granted by a principal, a donor, or an institution protecting its image. It was not something he had earned by saving Claire, surviving an arrest, or proving that wealthy people had lied. His life had mattered before anyone called him a hero, before the evidence was recovered, and even while the world had chosen the easiest story about him. As the bus pulled away, Malik touched the pouch and watched his neighborhood disappear behind him, not as the poor troublemaker Hawthorne had tried to expel, but as the young man who had stayed when others ran spoken when silence became dangerous, and refused to let anyone else decide the value of his name.